Welcome back to your Valley Sports Plug. It is Tuesday, October 1st, 2024, and this is a Valley Sports Plug Roundtable Live. I'm your host, Chris Patrick, joined as always by Mr. Michael Benjamin and VSP Tallman. Fellas, I think we're going to be having a lot of frustrations vented tonight. I'm hoping this is a cathartic experience for everybody. But guys, I think I know the answer, but how are you doing? How you doing tonight?
Chris, Tallman, man, a lot can happen in 2 days. A lot of soul searching, a lot of reminiscing on my part. It's been kind of tough, but I'm ready to do this damn thing. Tallman, how are you tonight?
Oh, fellas, I love the new intro video. I should have a gallon of D-backs fans' tears right here so I could drink it for you guys. I don't know. Yesterday was Black Monday, dude. That's all I could say. It was I don't know if to feel sad or extremely frustrated, but here we are.
I think it's like a combination of both, right? And I could probably fill up a couple gallon jugs of tears with how awful the situation in the Valley has been. Low Tone Capone, he hasn't stopped drinking since Sunday.
Hell yeah.
I think in a lot of ways, we are all Low Tone Capone, right? Right, guys? I mean, you got to do something to ease the pain, and everyone has their coping mechanisms. If you're Torey Lovullo, you cope by coming up with every excuse possible as to why we didn't make the playoffs, and it's tough, right? We are going to talk about the Diamondbacks and their collapse and missing the playoffs. We got to talk about the Cardinals. They've dropped 2 straight, including an embarrassing loss to the Commanders this last Sunday. The 3 of us had the unfortunate privilege of being in attendance for that massacre. And you can go check out our recap. It's on our YouTube page right now. I mean, don't do it right now. Wait until after the stream and then go do it. But we talk about it a little bit there. We're going to talk about it more here. And then, we had some passings in the sports world this week, unfortunately. Dikembe Mutombo at the young age of 58, I believe. Pete Rose, of a baseball legend, passing at the age of 83. And some things to talk about there. But before we dive into all of that, if we didn't have any guests, this would just be a Heat Check podcast live. So I do have to introduce our one and only very special guest this evening, the Wonder Twin, Mr. T Jr.
That's what we are now. I'm happy to see that I made the intro video finally. I like that. We made it. We made it, boys. We're here. Gosh, does it suck to be an Arizona sports fan right now? I don't know how to feel. I don't know, like you said, if I should be sad, if I should be frustrated. Who am I mad at? I don't even know who to be mad at. Cardinals are kind of doing Cardinal things, so I was expecting that. But the meltdown of the D-backs, I'm excited to see what VSP has to say about the complete debacle that we saw. And as he liked the phrase, Black Monday. So excited, boys, to do the square table. We look pretty square right here with us 4, but excited. Let's get to it.
There you go. I like it. The Knights of the Square Table. Here we are. I do want to get into some of the nitty gritty, the comments that have been made on radio shows and in the media the past couple of days. But first, I do want to start out at a high level. Let us all get our frustrations out. I think for me, when we're looking at the collapse here, I see that we had so many chances in the last month to secure our position, win even more games. You see, I think for me, it really started with the Houston Astros series where we dropped 2 there. Yeah, we got 2 against the Rangers. We go and lose 2 to Milwaukee, lose 2 to Colorado. That is the biggest glaring weakness for me, is because we were sitting here on either a live stream or a recap, and I said that no matter what, you need to win more games than the Brewers and you need to sweep the Rockies. And they accomplished one of those goals, but by a narrow margin. And giving up 2 to the Rockies is inexcusable, because I'm pretty sure if you win one of those games, we're in the playoffs. Now, there's a lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda that goes on, and we did have more wins. And by we, I mean the Arizona Diamondbacks had more wins this year than they did last year. So it shows them trending in the right direction, but man, not the way you want to go out. I mean, Mike, you, what are you thinking, man? What are your thoughts on the collapse here?
It's hard. It's hard, gentlemen. I mean, especially if you think about, in the grand scheme of things, you won more games than last year, and we barely squeaked into the playoffs. my biggest thing is going back, Chris, I'm going even further than what we have on the graphic here. August 25th. This team has a 7-game lead in the top wildcard spot, right? You thought we might have a chance to fight for the NL West at that point, because you're looking at the New York Mets coming to town and then a 4-game series with the Los Angeles Dodgers. But obviously, losing that series to the New York Mets and the Braves earlier within the season is what killed us, because it was a 3-way tie and we didn't have any tiebreakers. But man, I think when you really look back at what happened this entire year, it all boils down to the Diamondbacks pitching staff. They were 27th in ERA this year with a 4.62 ERA. If you just look at some of these guys, right? Eduardo Rodriguez, only 50 innings pitched this year, but 5.04 ERA. One of your top guys who's supposed to put this pitching staff over the top. I mean, our bullpen guys, you can even look at guys like Scott McGuff, 7.44 ERA, Slade Ciccone, 6.66. That is what let this team down. Because if you think about the Diamondbacks bats, yes, there were some times that they weren't consistent enough, but this team put up the most runs. They were the best offense in the majors this year. And to have to be waiting for what happens in a 2-game last day standoff between the Mets and the Braves, you did this to yourselves. It's absolutely unbelievable. There's plenty of games you can kind of try and pinpoint, okay, well, where was the loss that really put us over the edge? And I think for me, the easiest one is not getting that sweep in Milwaukee with an 8-run lead on that Sunday, September 22nd. Absolutely unacceptable. You know that it's coming down to the wire. For them to just wilt that one away, it was a tough scene. And I think that probably kind of stuck with them a little bit going into that San Francisco series. And then it was always going to be tough trying to squeak out a series win against the San Diego Padres. They probably have been the best team since the All-Star break. So lots of questions, not a lot of answers right now, but it's where we are. And man, I can't wait to touch on a little bit of the history of Arizona sports later on in the stream as well. I got some notes for everybody, but tough look, man. Tough look.
Oh man, that'll be fun. The sad look at the Arizona sports landscape, man. I agree, Mike. I mean, I think the catalyst for it was definitely that game on September 22nd with the Brewers. You blow an 8-run lead, and then you go on from there, resulting in you losing 5 of your last 7 games. Yeah, the Padres series was going to be tough, but San Francisco wasn't playing anything. They were just playing spoiler at that point. I know there were comments made by Torey Lovullo, and we can get it more into it, but he was basically saying that about the decision to rest Ketel in one of those final games where Ketel was just basically running on E, and he didn't have any gas left in the tank, to where more or less he's saying that Ketel Marte took himself out of that game. If Torey said, no, we need you to play, I'm sure he would have played, but Torey respected his player coming to him and being honest. And I can appreciate that, players admitting where they're at and wanting to perform their best. And if they're not able to do so, removing themselves with the situation. But it's all hands on deck when it comes to getting into the playoffs. Matt, just going back to the season, not particularly a specific game or point in the roster. I mean, by all means, if you want to identify one that we haven't already, what would just be your diagnosis for what went wrong this season as a whole?
It's the same thing. I feel like it's the same thing that plagues the Diamondbacks. It's the bullpen. It's always the bullpen. So it's one of those things where I was just thinking, as Mike went over the ERA and stuff. We have so much talent in the outfield. We have all these young people that we can't even. Why don't we trade some people and get us some? Why didn't we do anything? That was our problem. We sat there. We waited for everybody to be healthy. I mean, ultimately, with the roster on paper, we were the top producing offense. So I think it was kind of a lack of doing really any big moves to get, I know we were saying before the stream started, we were talking about, Trevor Bauer or anybody to get somebody that could come into that bullpen to do anything if we did a trade with some. But yeah, the bullpen, and I feel like that's the same thing. I feel like it's deja vu. I feel like it's Groundhog Day, where we just wake up every season. Like, it's just, I don't know when it's going to change. It feels like the constant Arizona just sickness where we sit and watch nothing happen. But ultimately, yeah, I think not getting that sweep, shitting away that lead that we had, and then to come home and to have all those games that we had. I think we finished out the season at home and we dropped 5 of them. So I want to see some movement. That's kind of what I want to see in the offseason. Maybe we do make a big splash. Maybe we do get, somebody that's not a big starter, but somebody that can come into the bullpen and do something for us. But yeah, that sucks. It sucks. It was so much fun to have that run last year and to be so excited and to get to watch baseball. And now I don't even want to look at anything baseball. I could care less right now. So it was so much fun, man.
Yeah, it was, man. And like, especially like Mike had mentioned in the middle of August there, we got hot. We were winning a lot of games. We were scoring a lot of runs. And I just think it's pretty simple when you look at the stats. Mike, what'd you say, 27th in ERA out of all the teams? But we had the most runs scored out of any team in the league. And it just proves that our bats weren't able to outpace our bad pitching, and especially in certain games. So maybe we won by some wide margins, but we weren't able to win the close ones and got beat out. Obviously, I wouldn't say more often than not. Obviously, we had an above 500 record, but in games that mattered, in games we should have won, that's the reason they're not in the playoffs today. I think you do bring up an interesting point here, Matt, and I want to ask VSP Tallman about this and bring up this graphic. We have our top 10 prospects here, 3 of them are shortstops, and you already have Geraldo Perdomo playing shortstop, and he's a young guy that you're going to have for a while. Why not get rid of a Jordan Lawler or a Tommy Troy? Or hell, we have so much talent in the outfield, especially now that we've drafted Slade Caldwell. Why not move on from a Drew Jones who has the name pedigree, probably has a lot of trade value attached to him, to bring in a pitcher, whether it's a reliever or a starter that could help this team? I don't know. What is your thoughts on that, Tallman?
Man, you want to go there already? We just got our hearts broken, man.
He's doing it. He's doing it to you, Tallman.
I'm doing it.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. We've just fucked up. All right. To answer your question, I don't know. You got to remember how this team operates. This team secures talent by spending less money and trying to get the Paul Goldschmidt contracts, where he had the 4 years, $32 million, and he outplayed the hell out of that. This Corbin Carroll contract, where he's got 8 years, $110 million, something like that, where you could argue Carroll's already outplayed that contract. So, I mean, to sit there and you have some top players, and then think about who we have coming up in free agency, right? Or who's going to be a free agent. So this team's going to probably look a lot different. I mean, we don't have that postseason to cushion our wallets, going into this offseason, right? So are we going to have that extra money to spend? I mean, you already saw Ken Kendrick come out and he took blame for signing Jordan Montgomery for $25 million and said it was an absolute disaster. So, I mean, I think this team's got the core, right? Because we used to have the best farm system, a year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but then all those major guys that were the best in our farm system are now playing on the regular team, right? So I don't know where it's rated right now. I couldn't tell you, but I mean, I'd be all for it. I mean, I'm sick of talking about a Drew Jones injury. I mean, does he even have that much appeal? But again, I think this team I think we're after we lose some of these guys, we're going to be more than one piece away from, being back to, we're going to make the playoffs for sure. Cause I mean, I'm going to chalk it up right now. This season was a total disaster. And the reason why, because we didn't make the playoffs. I mean, how this team was performing. I mean, how we made it through slumps from Corbin Carroll, Geno Suarez being non-existent, where we're saying DFA the guy, get him the fuck out of here, right? Just the inconsistency from our bullpen, then it shifted to our starting pitching, then all the injuries, like the way that we exploded after the All-Star break. I mean, we scored all the most runs in the league, as Mike mentioned. I mean, we were on a track to where we're making it for sure. And if at this point, if we collapse and we don't make it, this season was a failure. And I'll be the first to say it. This was an absolute failure. I'm absolutely disappointed in this team. There's several people to point fingers at. I mean, you can blame Torey Lovullo all you want. You can go for his head, say we need a guy that's not a player's coach, say he should have forced Ketel Marte to play. But I mean, even then, I need the day off. Cattell asked for the day off. And then why is he pinch hitting later in that game? Give him the entire day off. Like, what? Makes no sense. And then, okay. We got Cattell back the next day. Then we get blown out 11-0. Like, did it really matter? I don't know. I mean, you can blame the person that put this team together. I mean, coming into the season, we're like, oh my God, look at our starting pitching. We didn't get anything from Montgomery. We got subpar performances from Eduardo Rodriguez. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the only person I'm excited that they added obviously was Gino and Jock, but this season was a failure. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, and I agree with you as far as what they did adding pieces on the offensive side of the ball. But again, the bads couldn't outpace the bad pitching. And you're right, Montgomery was a complete bust. Eduardo Rodriguez, after missing half the season, came in and wasn't that good. Merrill Kelly couldn't even pitch 2 innings before he started cramping up. I'm sorry, 5 innings, whatever it was. He was cramping up. He wasn't able to play. He was injured for a large chunk of that game. So we start having to roll out guys like Gilbert Diaz and other kind of plug and plays that really just didn't work out. Brandon Pfaadt picked up more or less right where he left off in his rookie year. He posted a 4.71 ERA this year. I think 11 wins, 10 losses, if I'm recalling the stats I just looked up. Yeah, Merrill Kelly had a 4.03 ERA and like I said, missed a lot of time. It's just, you're right, Tallman. Again, we were sitting here at the beginning of the year saying, wow, once everyone's healthy, D-backs could have the most dangerous pitching rotation in baseball. Couple that with our bats coming off a hot season. The absolute expectation was that we make the playoffs, and we came up short. I mean, Mike, so a lot of people want to throw Torey or Hazen under the bus here, but do you think that's fair with how hyped we were back in April?
No, I don't think it's fair at all. I do love the accountability, guys. You know me, I'm the accountability guy. I talk about it with Marvin Harrison Jr. when he comes out and he says, I need to run better routes at the same time. Love me some Ken Kendrick coming out and saying, hey, the Jordan Montgomery signing is on me. But at the end of the day, the dude got paid. You got to step up and perform. And he absolutely didn't do that. I will give him credit, though. He worked as a pro once he went to the bullpen. And he was pretty much successful in there, right? But then once again, more injuries are happening. Ryan Nelson goes down for a time frame. So then you have to bring him up. And I think that was the biggest concern for me the second half of the season with the pitching staff as a whole. I'm not just talking about the starters. I'm talking about once Paul Sewald decided to not be a viable candidate for the closer role, what did that do to everybody? It's turned into by committee for closing, or, how did this team make that improbable run to the World Series last year, fellas? I've talked about it plenty of times. You had the 3 guys set up. You had Ryan Thompson in the 7th, Ginkel in the 8th, and Paul Sewald in the 9th, and they were absolutely shut down. Now we're throwing Ginkel over here in the 6th, later in 6th inning. Ryan Thompson is having some opportunities. Everybody was pitching in different situations. Sometimes the psyche just doesn't set when you don't know what you're going to be called upon. And that was a big, big problem down the stretch for this bullpen for sure. But yeah, there's still kind of unexcusables in regard to the way that Jordan Montgomery performed in the pitching as a starter. Eduardo Rodriguez, does he get a pass? I don't think so, because he had a lot of time off, and for him to come back and just not step up to the plate, it put us behind the 8 ball once again. But going back to your question, all the way back to it, Chris, I'm not blaming the front office or Torey Lovullo. Torey was trying to do whatever he could to put these guys in the best position to be successful. And at the end of the day, I think the injuries truly bit up with them. Yeah, we got healthy at the end of the year, but you could tell that, man, Gabby Moreno just wasn't the same. You're talking about a guy who was probably going to have surgery on his groin, right? Cattell obviously wasn't completely healthy. And after Christian Walker came back, he just was not the same. So I'm sure we're going to have discussions on what's happening with him coming up too. But yeah, this was a fault on the players. They didn't step up to the plate with the opportunities that they had as well to cement a 7-game lead with a month left. It's just unexcusable.
Yeah, well, man, you mentioned Christian Walker. I can't wait to get into that, and we will soon. There's just so much to dissect here, and like Tallman said, I mean, we could sit here and play the coulda, shoulda, woulda, what could have happened, and to some extent, I do agree that that's kind of a hopeless thing to do, and nothing's going to change, but it can be cathartic. I think, venting that frustration with this team and the decisions that were made and how it all played out, it's something that every Diamondbacks fan is feeling still today. I mean, you can even talk about that Monday doubleheader with the Mets and the Braves, where all the MLB teams played at the same time on Sunday to avoid teams colluding for playoff positions and whatnot, only to have a doubleheader where all they had to do was split. There's video clips of them celebrating on the field together after game 2 that they both made it into the playoffs. If you watch the first 5 innings of that second game, the Mets were swinging at every single pitch, half-assed. There were pitches bouncing off the home plate and just the laziest swings I've ever seen in my life. I mean, we should have had control of our own destiny at the end of the day. I'm not going to demand an investigation into some corrupt doubleheader game. It shouldn't have come down to that. And it's as simple as that, because we were even having conversations a week ago where even if the Diamondbacks had made it into the playoffs, what real chance do they have to even make it past the first series the way they'd been playing? And I still believe that their chances were slim. I mean, granted, we did kind of stumble into the playoffs last year, had a great run, made the World Series. On the other side of that literally on the other side of that series, you look at the Rangers this year, they're not in the playoffs either, guys. And they didn't have a major roster shakeup either. So baseball is a fickle thing. And with there being no salary cap, teams are able to throw their money. They're able to defer money for 35 years to build their roster, stack it out, all this shit. I'm not meaning to be all over the place here, but I wanted to go back a little bit, kind of on the lines of, me and Mike talking about accountability and his comments on that. With Torey Lovullo, he's been the manager for the Diamondbacks for 7 seasons now. His first season was the 2017 season. Only 2 playoff appearances in that time. One in 2017, his first year, he did win Manager of the Year. He took the D-backs to that and won the wild card game against the Rockies, only to get swept by the Dodgers. Did get his sweet revenge, of course, last year. We all know how that went down. Don't got to rehash it. But there's a lot of fans today, Matt, calling for the firing of Torey Lovullo, saying it's time to move on. Would you agree with that sentiment?
I mean, the seat's hot. That's a hot seat to sit in. You're sitting in that seat, you're getting burned. That's for sure right now. But I mean, it's always hard when the breakup, like, I guess it's not even the breakup because I don't think it's going to happen. I think that'd be really quick. That'd be very rash of us to do. I think he's been one of, in my history of watching the Diamondbacks and everything, which is probably the entire time they've been a team, he's probably one of the better managers we've had. The players seem to like him. And like Mike was saying, he's not the one on the field. He's not the one swinging. He's not the one pitching. So ultimately, I think it comes down to the players and holding them accountable for pretty much shitting the bed. That's ultimately what it was. What's also crazy to think is in an 162 game season, it comes down to one game. One game. That's the craziest thing to think about, because you're just like, why do they need all these games? There's who else is there though? Who else do we replace him with? Do we start all over? Is it a complete? I don't think we're in rebuild mode. I think we're just a couple of pieces away to where once we get the puzzles put together and we can make a decent run. I just think it was a shit season. We had a lot of unlucky breaks. We had a lot of weird injuries. I think the plug and play and trying to do, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I'm a firm believer in that. Like, hands off. But yeah, I think Torey tried his best. I think he did what he could. When you have one of your star players come up to you and tell you he wants the day off, and then you pinch hit him, whatever you want to look in the long term and protect him. It's one of those things where, like, I get it. It's a season, all hands on deck, but like, you're going to have a great career. There's many more games. There's going to be other games where you get to play. Take care of your body. Because the last thing I want to have happen is you're running on empty, tear something, and then we lose you all next season, God forbid. But yeah, I think next season is going to be very telling. I think if we have this same conversation next season and we don't make it, or there's a weird skid, or maybe we don't make it past the first round, then there might be a little bit of, talk to get rid of him. But I don't see that coming. I think everybody is just a little pissed off. It's fresh. The cut's still there. We haven't scabbed over or anything. So yeah, I think we'll let the flames die down a little bit. The seat's going to stay warm next season. We'll see how they act, how we play. But, Arizona Diamondbacks always play great for weird spurts of the season and then shit the bed when it matters. But yeah, no, we're not firing him. There's no way. I'd be very surprised if that happened.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm with you there. I would even go as far as I'm not even calling the seat hot. Not at all. I mean, look at what the guy did last year, dude. He did the Lord's work with what he was given. He had three starting pitchers and he made it to the World Series. He's a hell of a manager. We can sit here and he's a player's coach. He is. He's not going to be that guy that's all rah in your face. You fucking suck. He's not going to be doing that, right? But it's working out for him. I mean, I'm going to disagree with the Ketel Marte. I mean, we're down to the wire. I mean, we finished our last 7 games. We go 2-5 when we needed every single win. I mean, that's the kind of point where he's got to weigh that out. And he's going to go, no, you're playing. Can you put on your shoes? Can you sprint? You're playing. There's no question about it. So we can agree on that. But I mean, I don't think the seat's hot for him. I mean, this would have been nice if we made the playoffs because we could have said the D-backs made the playoffs in back-to-back years for the first time since 2001 and 2002, which is just wild to say. But we were poised all season, or excuse me, all the second half of the season. We were poised to cruise right into the playoffs. I mean, go back and look at all of our D-backs recaps. We were sitting there like, yeah, man, this is all right, no problem. We're a little downslope. We're bouncing back. We had recaps where we're like, dude, we've won fucking 8-9 games in a row. We were just going nuts. There was not one recap where I think any of us said, well, maybe the last one we did. Maybe we're kind of like, there might be a slight chance we don't make it if we don't figure it out. But I mean, my whole belief the whole time, I was like, there's no way. I mean, there's no way that this team's going to choke this away. And I mean, it's like we said, it's a combination of things. And Lovullo, I mean, he came out and, he took accountability for it. He wasn't going to sit there and blame the MLB for how they put that ridiculous doubleheader on Monday when they knew since it was about to hit Cuba that a hurricane was coming and it was about to smoke Florida. Oh, it might be 50 or 100 yards or 100 miles this way, or they knew it was coming. Why couldn't you plan those games as doubleheaders earlier in that week? Why did they have to come down to that doubleheader on Monday? But again, Lovullo came out and he said, guys, this is our bed. We made it. Now we got to sleep in it. And he was absolutely right. Like I said, you finish the season 2-5. You got a crap hand. It all comes down to that Brewers game. But of course, we get the Giants, and the Giants got nothing to play for, and they were just on a tear. Look at how the Giants finished their season, man. It was like the second they got eliminated, they just started beating everybody. Didn't matter. And then, of course, we had to finish against the Padres, who did have a chance to catch the Dodgers. So it worked out. We just got, out of any team in the league, we got the shit end of the stick. But you can't blame anybody but the Arizona Diamondbacks. You can't. We choked it away.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is a team sport, and I agree with you guys. I don't think they should fire Lovullo now. I'm tending to agree a little bit with Matt that I think the seat should be warm as far as them, paying close attention to the decisions that he's making as manager, because I think there is some room for criticism with the way he utilized the bullpen at times, some of the lineups he put out there. I mean, Corbin Carroll was up and down the card all year long. And I think with a guy like that, with as talented as he is, yeah, you can call it a sophomore slump, but I think you got to ride it out with him. Now, there's, I guess, also an argument within that to make that could have been the right decision. He did find a groove later on in the season, but I don't know, man. I think people tend to want to look for an answer, and they want to look for a scapegoat or someone to blame. And for a lot of people, that is Torey Lovullo. And I don't necessarily know if he deserves even the majority of the blame, because the players play, and he is the one supposed to put them in positions to do well. But there's just a lot of guys that didn't show up, especially on the pitching side. And I don't want to beat that horse to death. But Mike, I do briefly kind of want to touch on, I know, Tallman, we're just one day removed from the end of our season, might be a little putting the putting the cart in front of the horse. Is that the correct way to use that phrase? To look forward to next year and some of the decisions they're going to have to make. I mean, it looks like more than half our roster has arbitrations pending, Zach Gallen being one of them. There's some guys heading to free agency that I fully expect will be gone. Josh Bell, Paul Sewald, Kevin Newman, and Christian Walker, who appeared to have had a foot out the door for the last month and a half of the season. He's going to go look for a big payday somewhere. I don't think he did himself any favors in looking for that big contract, playing like shit. But Mike, realistically, do you think we could see Christian Walker back in a Diamondbacks uniform next year?
I think so. It's just going to depend on what the market is really asking for somebody like Christian Walker. If you guys truly think about it, yes, we still kind of have a sour taste in our mouth by the way that he performed towards the end of the postseason run last year. When he came back from his injury this year as well, he just was not the same. But I mean, the guy consistently almost hits 30 home runs. He had 26 this year, 84 RBIs, 251 average, not too bad. And he's a Gold Glove first baseman. Like, he's going to command money in free agency this year. Now, what does that number look like? The Diamondbacks are going to move off of some of these pieces already, right? There's going to be the retooling. I think it was Matt who was saying it earlier. It's not a rebuild, obviously not. I mean, you won more games than you did last year. We're in a good spot still. It's a retooling. And I think that Christian Walker could see himself coming back. I mean, he's going to be 34 years old, I think, on opening day next year. But what does the market say? If he's pushing $150 million, I don't know if this front office is willing to do that. If it's between 100 to 120, possibly can see Christian Walker coming back to the Valley. And this is going to be his last opportunity to really get a nice payday. So that's what it's going to come down to. If people are throwing more coins in the purse than the Diamondbacks, he will be gone, because at the end of the day, it would be a smart decision for him to go and get that money. And for his sake, I think he's a smart enough individual where he could probably go to a contender and still get that type of money. But hopefully he kind of has some love for the Valley and sees the ties where he was given that opportunity after Paul Goldschmidt got his bag and Christian Walker was able to become an all-star caliber player, and would love to see him finish out his career here. I mean, at least within the next 2 years, and start building within, AAA and seeing who might have an opportunity to take over after he's done. But if we get him for under $120 million, I think it would still be a tradable asset as well. So you don't have to pigeonhole yourself into thinking, oh, we overpaid for Christian Walker, we won't be able to move him away. Because his glove is still going to be there, fellas. I mean, he's just been a stud there. So high hopes for Christian to come back, I think.
I do think, Mike, for me, that is kind of the thing, though. I do worry about giving him a long-term deal for a lot of money. I mean, the money is kind of neither here nor there, I guess. But a long-term deal, I get what you're saying. If you're optimistic that they can move off of it, then I feel a little bit better about it. But Michael, he is no spring chicken. Christian Walker is 33 years old. He'll have just turned 34 when the season starts next year, which makes him only 3.5 years younger than Paul Goldschmidt. And everyone's saying he's probably close to knocking on the door of retirement. I don't know. You're right, though. He is a stellar first baseman. I'm pretty sure he won the Gold Glove in back-to-back years, 21 and 22, or was it 22 and 23? I think that was it. So regardless, what he brings defensively can somewhat make up for what he lacks offensively at times. We know he's a power bat. He's going to strike out a lot. He's going to swing it a lot, but he does have the ability to get runs home when he does actually make good contact. Because Matt, looking at the construction of this roster currently, if you don't do anything, do you know who our first baseman could be?
No, I was literally going to ask you, who the hell, if you were going to come to me, it's like, you have to pay him. Who do you have? We watched Paul Goldschmidt leave, and it was like breaking every Diamondback fan's heart to watch him. I mean, I was very happy, like you said, for him to get paid, but it broke my heart to watch him be successful. I hate that. That's such an Arizona thing to do. Everybody used to do it back when the Cardinals were around in the 90s, but I couldn't tell you, Chris. I have no fucking idea.
Well, you're in luck, because I actually do have a pretty good idea. One of the only other first basemen on our roster, not named Josh Bell or Christian Walker, is Pavin Smith. I mean, he did some decent things with the bat. I don't know how his glove is at first. I don't even know if he played first this season at any point. He did. Tallman, what do you think, though?
Yeah, he played first. Not a lot, though. What do I think about Pavin Smith or Christian Walker?
Well, either. I mean, both, I guess. What do you think the chances of us bringing back Christian Walker are? Do you want to see him back?
So,
and if not, are you okay with them rolling out Pavin Smith there?
Yeah. So are we going to see him back? So there's two big underlying issues with that, and the amount of money that this team's going to have to spend and is willing to spend. I already mentioned it earlier. Last season, we got in that postseason, we got a lot of extra cash, right? And then we turned around and we were like, boom, let's go get Jordan Montgomery. Guess what happens when Jordan Montgomery picks up that player option? There goes a ton of money right there. So that's going to handcuff this team. It's going to hurt. I mean, I was just trying to look up and see if anyone's done any contract projections. And it looks like before he got, for Christian Walker, that is, looks like before he got hurt, some writer at ESPN came out and projected he's going to make anywhere from 40 million to 80 million over the next, couple of years or 3-4 years. So, is it unreasonable for them to pay, sign him to a 3-year, $50 million deal? I mean, look up the deal that we paid Lourdes Gurriel. I think we're paying him like 16 million a year, right? I think we could go for it. We could pay Walker 18, 19 million a year. I mean, he's definitely deserving. He's one of our main players. He's a fan favorite. He's been extremely productive. Of course, I'm going to sit here and say, yeah, we want him back, because no, I don't want to rely on Pavin Smith. And then, if we lose Walker, they're going to sign Bell to a minimum deal for nothing. We're going to have Josh Bell as our backup first baseman and probably Pavin Smith starting at first, unless we have a big mix up and they pick up somebody in free agency or whatever. So I'd love to see him back. I don't know. It's so hard to sit here and say, because who else did you say? We have Kevin Newman, Paul Sewald. What was the other guy?
Josh Bell.
Okay. So and then we have some people on team options, mutual options. So if he really is demanding 80 million to 100 million, I don't know if it's in the cards for this team. I really don't, but the one thing to think about, him getting hurt was an oblique strain, right? He was only supposed to be out for 10 days and he ended up missing, an entire month. So that injury and then his performance coming back, that didn't do him any favors. So I just don't picture it. I don't picture him as a $25 million a year guy. I just don't. I mean, how do you do that? He's such a late bloomer. He's only got the last 2 years that really solidify him as somebody that could make that money, but he's so old. He's way too old. How do you don't throw a 10-year contract at a guy like that? You don't. I mean, he's not a generational player. He's the first baseman of the Arizona Diamondbacks that no one ever talks about. Who they never, even though he kicks ass and he's really good defensively and he can hit the ball really far, he never gets any all-star recognition. Excuse me. I mean, the guy, I don't know. I just don't see him being a top tier guy that would get 25, 30 million. So I could see him coming back to the D-backs for 17 million a year, 18 million, something similar to Gurriel. But if for some reason someone throws a bag at him, I don't see the D-backs even thinking about trying to match it.
No, I can't imagine. I mean, because you got to think about how you want this team to be constructed in the long term. And if you're giving Christian Walker a lion's share of the available salary, then you're kind of handcuffing yourself in other positions of need, more specifically in pitching. I mean, we saw us throw a bunch of money at pitchers that weren't really worthy of that. I mean, we thought they were at the time, but ultimately they ended up not being. That's neither here nor there. I mean, this is my crazy dream scenario that I think is totally unrealistic. But if the Diamondbacks find it in themselves to want to throw a bag at a free agent first baseman this offseason, I would want them to make the best offer they possibly can to get 29-year-old Pete Alonso. I think that would be amazing because he does play well. He has a good hand and he can hit the long ball, get runs in. So kind of just very similar to Christian Walker, just 3-4 years younger than him. Now that is unrealistic. There's going to be a lot of teams with a lot of salary space where they're going to target him first. I'm sure the Mets will be first in line to try and get him back there. I'm pretty sure the Mets had the highest payroll this last season, so they're obviously willing to spend the money to have these star players. I know I've heard the idea of maybe giving Paul Goldschmidt his last contract, maybe give him 1 or 2 years, let him ride out into the sunset. But if you're a team in a win now mindset and you're thinking you have a championship window here, I don't know if bringing in an older first baseman, especially a Paul Goldschmidt, is really the answer. Mike, did you want to chime in on the future of the first base position here?
No, I think it's all going to come down to what happens with Christian Walker. Does he stay or does he go? I mean, playing fill-in at that position, I think, would make me nervous going into next year. If you think that Josh Bell is going to be a backup and Pavin Smith is your guy. We've talked about the volatility of Pavin Smith in general, right? So I loved what he did to finish out the season. That's great. Can he do it for 162 games? I mean, has he ever had the opportunity? I don't know if I'm willing to give him that opportunity, fellas. Like, that's what it kind of comes down to. So, we're just hitting the off season. Unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of different decisions for this Diamondbacks club moving forward, but I'm still excited to see kind of what happens and how this thing plays out.
No, me too, man. But I am ready to take a few months off of talking about the Diamondbacks. So this might be the last conversation that we have for a while about the Diamondbacks. We'll see. We'll see if some moves are made, what happens in the winter meetings. But yeah, I'm wanting to go to the corner and lick my wounds on the D-backs, and then pay attention and give attention to other wounds that are starting to fester within me, and that is with the Arizona Cardinals. Because, here in the Valley, as fans of Valley Sports, we can never catch a break. We lost our hockey team. Baseball team didn't make the playoffs. And now, as optimistic as we were about our football team, they're starting the season 1-3 and getting absolutely whatever adjective you want to use by the Washington Commanders. And to add insult to injury, it's at points felt like there were at least just as many Commanders fans as Cardinals fans there on Sunday. And I guarantee you that the majority of them never lived in Washington, D.C. So why they latched on to the Redskins is beyond me, but that's not the conversation we're having. We need to talk about this team. There were only 4 plays, I think, or 4 passing plays that were thrown further than 10 yards down the field. This offense just looked utterly inept. James Conner looks good in the stat sheet, but they really weren't doing him any favors with some of those play calls, especially the now infamous 4th and 1, where they line up Kyler in the shotgun. As I mentioned, guys, once this stream is over, go check out our recap. Mr. Benjamin, VSP Tallman, and myself share some thoughts. We're going to get more in depth to it here, but I got to go to Mr. T Jr. here first. What was your perspective from your couch in the Valley?
Heartbreaking. That was heartbreaking, boys. I felt bad because I knew you guys were there, so I was like, "Fuck, this sucks." It's like, what a game! The first, like I told you, the first 3 minutes of like regulation or like I was so excited. Like we had that sick, like on TV. I was like, "All right, cool." I was like, "We look good." And then I don't know what happened. I don't know. We got outcoached. We literally got outcoached. Our defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. Our defense was terrible. They were really hard to fucking watch. Is Jaden Daniels really that good? Like, is he that good? That's what I want to know, because he looked fucking phenomenal. And I got so sick of them talking on TV about him being 91% completion, blah, 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 blah. He's with Tom Brady. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. He sucked at ASU. Fuck Jaden Daniels. God, no, it was hard. That was my
tell us how you really feel. Just please tell us how
you asked. I was excited. I was so excited for this game because I was like, all right, cool. It's like, we're gonna fuck them up. It's like, there's no way Washington comes in. It also breaks my heart that there was that many Washington fans in the stadium, but I was like, there's no way they come in and they just run. If we were gonna lose, it's gonna be a close game. That's what I was expecting. I did not think it was gonna be 42-14, the Jaden Daniels completion fucking show. Like we fell apart. Our offense looked very stagnant at times. There wasn't a whole lot of movement. It felt like Kliff showed up and his ghost was coaching our offense. But then he was on the other side coaching an offense and he was doing phenomenal. But it was like our defense is so bad, boys. I don't know what we're going to do about that. Like, we really need to figure out, like, do we go and get like a Hassan Reddick? Do we make a move to get somebody to put a little bit of pressure on these guys? Like, we can't have Dennis Gard. That dude can't be our fucking pass rusher. Like, he's not, I love him. I know he's a fan favorite. Gardeck is whatever the fuck. Like, he can't play. Like, he cannot be our pass rusher. So Buda Baker had a couple missed tackles where he tried to shoot the shit to do some stuff where it was like, had he made the tackle, it's a great fucking play, but it's one of those things where he leaves us very exposed at times. It felt like, to where if he doesn't make the tackle, we're fucked. Like, it better be Thompson, better be running across. Like, so I think the moral of the game, the moral story, defense fucking killed us. I think Kyler kind of was James Conner did good. I like that, but it seems to be the James Conner show the first 5 weeks or so. So I don't know. I want to know what it was like, because I didn't watch the recap. I need to go back and see I want to know what it was like a little bit in the stadium. What was the vibe after, what was it, halftime was like 27 to fucking 7 or something?
Yeah, the vibes were not immaculate. I'll tell you that much. It was tough, man. It was tough. I mean, we started the game fairly optimistic. It's 17-7 at halftime. So even at half, you're like, okay, yeah, it's 17-7. Should probably be 17-10 had we made better decisions there down the stretch. Dare I say 14-17 had some better decisions be made. But I mean, Matt, no offense, but I mean, you're not breaking any news here. We knew the defense was bad. That was a given. And we do love ourselves some barbarian, Dennis Gardeck, but you're right. He's not the permanent answer for that position. The tackling was atrocious. You could see it from our seats. Everybody could see it on TV. But we were even talking with one of Mike's buddies as we were getting some beers. Everyone expected this game to be a shootout, and we expected the Cardinals offense to be able to keep up with the Cardinals. And other than the first drive of the game, I think that was their first drive when they scored with Marvin Harrison Jr. They didn't show up again after that for pretty much the rest of the game. I know you also mentioned there the ghost of Kliff was our OC there on Sunday, but it wasn't. It was Drew Petzing. Tallman, I guess I know a lot of people were quick to throw him under the bus, myself included. I was many beers deep on Twitter going off on Drew Petzing, saying he's dog shit, horrible hire. But once I sobered up and reflected a little bit more and saw other people asking the question, and even you in our recap asking the question, did we really have a Kliff Kingsbury problem, or do we have a Kyler Murray problem with the Arizona Cardinals?
Isn't that the golden question right now? It's very easy to say we might have personnel at a quarterback position. That might be our problem after Kliff Kingsbury just came in here and kicked our ass, right? There's no way to sugarcoat it. And then the start that he's had with the Washington Commanders with the rookie quarterback. I mean, not only is Daniel setting all these records, I mean, dude, they went 2 straight games coming into Phoenix without punting the ball. 13 straight possessions they scored on. Like, that was unheard of in the Super Bowl era. So obviously they're riding high. They were riding high coming in here. And after I watched them on Monday night, who'd they play? Was it the Bengals?
Bengals, yep.
Yeah, the Bengals. They survived a shootout against Joe Burrow, where I was like, all right, this game might be a little more difficult than, we all thought it was going to be or expected it to be. But I still thought the same thing. They're going to gash our defense. We're going to gash theirs. But it was the complete opposite. They did all the gashing, and you mentioned the tackling. It was the one where we're sitting there, and it was the touchdown run by the Mick Nichols guy or whatever, their backup running back, where you saw Jalen Thompson go to try to wrap him up on the sideline and tackle. Dude, push him out of bounds. Like, that was like, oh man, that was the one that happened right in front of our eyes. And I was like, yep, that's, we can't tackle. And just the gap, all the gaps in the defense was crazy. They found holes on every single play. They lived on our side of the field, right? So, I mean, you got to tip your cap to what Kliff Kingsbury was doing over there. I still can't say his damn name, and I've been saying it for 4 flipping years. You got to tip your cap to what they were doing, because what they were doing was working, right? I mean, they were projecting the quarterback. Daniels looked comfortable back there, and you can say the complete opposite for the Cardinals. I mean, Kyler Murray was not comfortable. He got sacked 4 times. Our offensive line did not do him any justice in that game. But obviously, Kliff, I mean, I don't want to sit here and say Kyler Murray is the problem. And if we would have kept Kliff and traded Kyler, that we'd be off. We'd be, kicking ass with a rookie quarterback. It's hard to say that, but it's really easy to say after this game that, Kingsbury's off having a much better year. He's got to figure it out. He's in a good spot. He's right where he needs to be, being the offensive coordinator and not the head coach. It's working out for him. Good. Happy for him. Happy for Jaden Daniels. I mean, he's taken the league by storm. I'm not saying it's a Kyler Murray problem. He's got to go, but he's got to figure it out. And it's not just him. We got to figure it out. And I mean, the biggest takeaway was our defense, obviously. But like you said, Chris, Matt wasn't breaking any news here. We knew they were going to be dog shit. But you sit there and go, okay, well, I didn't think after that Detroit Lions game and some of the things we did in our first 2 games, I mean, how we just decimated the Rams, how we, hung in there with the Bills. Granted, we got gashed a little bit in that second half, but I didn't expect them to get to. It's like the Commanders took our lunch money on the defensive side of the ball. They came in like the big ass bully and they took it from us. So, but then it tells you there, like you mentioned Gardeck. I mean, we just don't have the talent. And then it makes you think, okay, we don't have the most cap space, but we're sitting on $23 million that we decided not to spend. And then you watch that defensive performance on Sunday and you go, we just don't have the talent. This defense doesn't have the talent, which means we haven't invested enough money in this defense. And granted, we haven't seen Darius Robinson, our first round pick, the rookie on the defensive line. We lost Justin Jones, who was one of our free agent picks, but it's not like Justin Jones was holding it all together. That shouldn't be something we were underfunded, we didn't have enough talent from the get-go. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's a Kyler problem, but he's having a problem right now. And the way the schedule looks in the next couple games, I bet you we're sitting here the next 3 weeks and I think we still have a problem. So it's not looking good. That's why I coined yesterday Black Monday, because that was a rough game that we had on Sunday, and then come Monday, the D-backs choke it away. So it was a tough day yesterday. So I'm not feeling good about anything right now, fellas.
Now I'll touch on Kyler real fast. The one thing that continues to concern me is he's not elevating his wide receivers. It doesn't seem like it can be within game script or anything like that. He's just not making his guys take the next step. But that's all I have to say right now. We're still 4 games in, whatever. The thing that I have to focus on really within this thing, fellas, is the biggest concern for me is this type of game within the narratives that come with it, with Kliff Kingsbury coming to the Valley, a rookie quarterback, taking your lunch money, like Tallman said. These are the kind of games that can probably stick with you and can stick in your psyche. And I know that everybody wants to step in front of the media and say, you shrug it off, you look at the tape. Some teams don't even look at the tape after an ass whooping like that. This team needs to look at this tape and then move forward. For Kliff Kingsbury, who's not the head coach, he's the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders, to come in and utterly dominate more in one game than he ever did as the head coach / offensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals, and the way that it absolutely floundered and was a dumpster fire at the end of his regime, it's not good. It was not good. And I'll touch on what it was like to be in that stadium as well, Matt. This was the first time in 6 years that I've been to a game in State Farm Stadium. And you know what the last game I went to was? I'm sure you guys have always heard this story. It's my favorite one. It was against the Chicago Bears when Josh Rosen had to come in. the unfortunate stigma that goes with the Valley is when you have a team that is not competitive enough or not truly ready to win games, we are always going to get flooded. It doesn't matter what the market is of the away team. And it was absolutely prevalent on Sunday. I was in shock still, fellas, but that was why I kind of said, this is the game to go to. I don't want to go to the Rams game because they always travel well and they beat us for 10 years. Who the hell of the Washington Commanders fans is going to be there? And it was 60-40. It was utterly gross. But that's where we are right now. You're talking about a team that won 4 games the last 2 seasons. We are not in a good place. And the upcoming schedule really puts a pause for concern on not only our predictions, but us as a fan base to see if this is going to be another type of 5-4 win season. I am getting concerned about it. And it's sad to say it through 4 weeks, but that kind of an effort when your ex-head coach who put this team into the media limelight for utter negativity, for you to come in and not show any effort the way that this team did. I don't even care. I'm not even talking about personnel at this point, fellas. We could have had guys out there sleepwalking that would have had more effort than some of these motherfuckers out there on Sunday. It was utterly disgusting. I am absolutely shook by what I saw on Sunday, not only from all of those Commanders fans, but what I saw from Kyler Murray in his pocket presence comparative to just 2 weeks prior. What the hell was going on? Matt, I know that you talked about, it's the James Conner show through the first 5 weeks. It seems like it's the James Conner show for the first 8 minutes, and then they don't utilize him anymore. Like, there's just so many concerns that come up from one game, which is, it hurts me, man. It hurts me for me to be in this mind state already with this Cardinals football team. But for that type of effort, for what we saw on Sunday, I think it weighs a little bit more on me as well because I was in the building. I got to feel the negativity that came through all of that. And that puts more of a sour taste in my mouth than probably just watching the bullshit like you had to watch on Sunday, Matt. I don't know, but plenty of more conversations to have from this team. But that was an absolutely unacceptable performance, and I'll double down on it. That was the worst loss that this Cardinals team has had since the 2021 wild card game in Los Angeles. It's the truth.
Yeah, Mike, no lies detected. It was very demoralizing to be in that building. We stayed till the bitter end. We stayed after and spit on the grave of that game. But a lot of Cardinals fans started heading for the parking lot at the start of the fourth quarter, and that only made it even more obvious how many Commanders fans were actually in attendance who wanted to stay and rub it in our faces. And on top of it all, we have our fans fighting each other in the upper deck. I'm pretty sure multiple fights broke out where Cardinals fans are fist fighting each other in the upper deck. Blood is being spilled. And for what? I'm curious what those arguments were actually about. I can't imagine. I literally can't imagine because, yeah, it sucks. But we didn't expect this team to be a playoff team this season. We were hoping they would be. I think we are very disappointed in the start. You got to throw away this game, though, and come out swinging because your schedule's not getting any easier, guys. You got San Francisco, Green Bay, Los Angeles Chargers, Miami, Chicago. The list goes on. Now, some of those teams are more challenging than others, but I do want to look, first at this matchup we have coming up this Sunday against the San Francisco 49ers. It's an away game in Santa Clara. And I don't know, man. I think this is an opportunity. If we were to be able to beat the 49ers this season, you got to do it while they have no Christian McCaffrey, while they have no Deebo Samuel, and they are playing a little banged up. Granted, they still have been able to win games. They're 2-2 right now. So this is a winnable game. This is a chance to make a statement that you can be competitive, not only in the entire league, but more specifically in the division, where right now the NFC West isn't like super strong. Matt, look at the matchup predictor, 29.9% chance of a Cardinals win. Is that how you're feeling? Are you feeling like we have a 30% chance to win?
Do you want me to be realistic or be a fan? Realistically, if I had to go based off of, I'm going to throw away last game. I mean, definitely it needs to be watched. It's one of those things where like I wouldn't want to be in the film room like following week. Like there's some very big things that need to be addressed and I hope corrected, or like Mike said, I'm getting worried. It could be another 4 or 5 win season. I don't see us going into San Francisco and winning, unfortunately. I think we're going to still be a little hungover from the loss. I just think even without some of the, thank God Christian McCaffrey's out because we can't stop anybody from running. So if it was him, I know I'd probably be playing against him in fantasy that week too, because I just play against every running back that wants to fucking have the best game of their lives. Yeah, we can't stop the run. So even then, even without Christian McCaffrey, like I think Jordan Mason or whatever, he's having a great season. Like he's playing really well. I don't have a lot of confidence right now, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. It sucks. I know it's really early, but our defense is watching it on TV. It was hard. It was real because you could see them quitting during the play. Like our effort wasn't there. Like they had such a defeatist looking attitude on the field that it sucked. And we just don't have the talent, but we all knew that. So I think that we're going to get picked apart a little bit. I think it's going to be a rough season, guys. Unfortunately, I think we were very, very optimistic with our 8 or 9 wins. It doesn't look like that's happening. But yeah, I think I'm feeling that 30-70 right there. That's pretty. Can we do it though? I think it's possible. It might be one of those things where it's a bounce back and we have a prove it game where we're like, hey, no, that was just a fluke. Like Washington's a good, they might just be a good team, guys. Like it might be one of those things where like they're just like that sleeper team that's good. We all knew Kliff was a great offensive coordinator, but yeah, we're going against another guru of a coach in Shanahan. He's made a great specimen in Brock Purdy. That offense is just great. We're fucked, guys. We're fucked.
Yeah, I do agree with you to some extent that there is a slim chance, right? Because it could very well be that they had a full game plan for the Commanders and they just got completely shocked and had the complete wrong game plan. And maybe somehow Gannon and Rallis and Petzing all get together, put their brilliant minds together and come up with just the perfect game plan to be able to win one over on the 49ers. I don't think it's very likely. And Tallman, I want to get your opinion, but first, just to go back kind of to the Commanders game a little bit, we were, of course, at the stadium, but would you have ever considered fighting a fellow Cardinals fan, no matter how bad the situation got?
You asking me?
No, I'm asking the other VSP Tallman.
Oh,
how many drinks has he had? It'd be the
question. That's
how many
probably part of the equation.
Oh,
no, I mean,
shit.
Yeah, that is wild. That is just.
Is that a David Johnson, Pat Tillman scrap down right there? Larry Fitzgerald just took some.
Fitz is trying to break it up.
Bro,
I thought David Johnson was a nice guy.
David Johnson's a great guy. Don't get
it's another angle,
dude.
Okay. I don't know, man. I bet you that argument was not about Arizona Cardinals. I'm sure there was just some shit talking. Who knows? But no, you
obviously being a bit facetious, asking if you're going to fight fans. I know you're not going to start going through punches.
You go to jail for fighting there, man. Like you get arrested. That's no sporting event, sports team, or anything is worth that. I mean, you just got to be an adult.
I do think what is interesting, very interesting about this clip, which we noticed at the stadium, is not only were there a lot of Commanders fans there were a lot of random motherfuckers in Vikings jerseys and Bears jerseys.
Mitchell Trubisky jersey,
bro. Like,
yeah, I saw that in the video. Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't really understand why you're going to go to a game and wear the jersey of a team that's not even playing in that game.
Look, I mean, Broncos jerseys in the back.
Right. It just doesn't. I mean, I get that you can be a football fan and you're like, oh, I live in Arizona. I'm from Minnesota, so I'm going to go to the game because the Vikings aren't coming here this season. Sure. But did you have to wear your Vikings jersey? Dude,
that Pat Tillman jersey, dude's got a fucking jaw. That dude needs to get a call. He just took like 4 punches to the face, and he's standing.
He's pretty sore today, I'd imagine.
Oh, dude.
The dude's holding onto the rail for more leverage as he's hurling in these haymakers.
That's crazy.
He's like, well,
man.
I could just go. It's like
All right.
beating the shit. All right, that was cool.
Valley Sports Plug does not condone that type of violence.
We do not.
No. This is a PSA for what not to do at State Farm Stadium.
Yes, be the bigger man, walk away.
Hugs,
Don't
not
catch
chugs.
charges at a sporting event.
Correct. But a more serious question, Tallman. Are you kind of in alignment with your brother and I that Cardinals have a very slim chance to win this Sunday?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's going to be really, really tough task for them. I mean, you mentioned some of the Christian McCaffrey's out. Big deal, dude. The 49ers defense, they're healthy. They're together. I mean, if we can only score 14 points against the dog water defense of the Washington Commanders, I mean, come on, dude. It's going to be tough. You think that offensive line is going to survive? Is going to be able to keep Kyler up off of his ass? No, he's going to get sacked multiple times. It's going to be a big time struggle. And I mean, they do have Deebo Samuel back. I mean, this Mason kid stepping in, I mean, who cares that they don't have McCaffrey? Mason's been running for over 100 yards and a touchdown or more than one touchdown every single week. So he's like McCaffrey Jr. at this point. So I don't know. I think it was weird that the Rams beat the 49ers, but the 49ers last week, they got their get-right game against the Patriots. They put a little whooping on them. I think Cardinals are going to come in, and I think they're going to pick up right where they left off with the Patriots, and they're going to manhandle the subpar team that the Arizona Cardinals are right now. And it's going to be a tough watch. I'm just glad I'm going to be on the beach watching it. Sorry, guys.
I don't think you should ruin your beach time with watching that game. But
that's a good point.
That's a true fan right there. When you're trying to relax, you're going to do something that's so stress inducing. That's a true fan without a doubt. Mike, I want you to chime in on this game coming up before we get out of here. But I also have to mention and have you get us up to speed on where we're at with a little reception bet that you and VSP Tallman wagered. Now, I was mistaken. I don't think I said it on air. I thought that Zay Jones only had a 4-game suspension. He does have a 5-game suspension, so won't be back this week, but will be returning next week against the Green Bay Packers. Mike, how's that bet looking? I mean, Zay Jones, I don't think he's even had a target this year.
0 targets, 0 receptions, 0 field time. Michael Wilson had 3 catches, so we're looking at 14-0 lead right now, Tallman. Feeling good, feeling great?
No, of course not.
Like I said, I'll feel comfortable if Michael has 20 catches or around there by the time that Zay Jones comes back. Because here's the matter of fact right now, through 4 games as well. Michael Wilson is just not a factor. He's not a factor within this offense. They can't really throw him the deep ball. They pretty much focus on those 20-yard outs. I mean, the offense, after the past 2 weeks, they have a lot of soul searching to do as well. And doesn't help when you lose Trey McBride. Doesn't help when you lose Jonah Williams, and there's no sight of him coming back anytime soon. Kelvin Beachum had a horrible game on Sunday as well. So a lot more questions than answers. But in regard to the San Francisco 49ers matchup, fellas, I mean, it's going to be hard to go to Santa Clara, and you've just basically played 2 away games. And now you actually have to go play a true away game for a team that's trying to figure it out as well, so they can stay on the top of the NFC West after Seattle loses in a tough game yesterday to the Detroit Lions. San Francisco is going to have a lot. They're going to have a big chip on their shoulder to kind of turn the ship after some questionable losses that they had so far. So, I mean, we have the same outlook, but do we have the same personnel? That's the answer to that question. It's not a good outlook for this upcoming Sunday. But Chris, am I going to be watching? Hell yeah, I'm going to be watching. I just won't be on a beach like Tallman, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely tune in. I'm going to check it out. I'm probably not going to wager for Kyler Murray to throw 200 yards or, do anything too crazy. Probably count on James Conner sneaking into the end zone at least once, but I'll leave the betting to Tallman and the Tallman ticket, and maybe we'll see another Nico's nice net But fellas, I know that we're gonna have plenty of time to talk about the Cardinals. We do our weekly recaps. For third time, I'm going to plug it. Make sure you go check that out as soon as this video is over. And we're getting close to the end, fellas. But there is one last topic I wanted to touch on. I did briefly mention it at the top of the stream here. The passing of baseball legend and 17-time All-Star Pete Rose. We got that news that he passed away yesterday in Las Vegas, Nevada. And, you know, a lot of people have mixed feelings on Pete Rose. He had been trying to work his way back into the good graces of the MLB to be eligible for the Hall of Fame, including meeting with the commissioner on several occasions to plead his case. And every time the commissioner just said, basically, no, fuck you, Pete Rose. You're not going to be in the Hall of Fame. And now at 83 years old, he has passed. So that obviously re-sparks the question of, will Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? And I guess for some, should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? Matt, I know you're a big baseball fan and have some feelings on Pete Rose. So I want to ask you first, kind of your thoughts on this.
Pete Rose is dope. I actually met Pete Rose because I used to do the baseball card shit. He was out here doing autograph. What's crazy is he was doing autographs up until the day before he died. He had actually flown home from Tennessee to Vegas the night before or something like that. Was in his like doing autographs and stuff, but met the guy, awesome dude, never said no to signing stuff. That dude literally signed anything and everything. I have a baseball somewhere. He signed a baseball and it said, Pete Rose, sorry I bet on baseball. That's literally what it says. I kid you the fuck not. It's the coolest, probably the coolest thing I have. Him and Ty Cobb are the only baseball players in history to have 4,000 plus hits. The guy needs to be in the fucking Hall of Fame. You can't talk about, for me, it's not even about, it's like talking about Barry Bonds. Like it has nothing to do with stats. Even statistically, if you can't talk about an era of a sport without mentioning somebody, why the fuck are they not in the Hall of Fame? I don't care if he bet on whatever the fuck. He could bet on ducks racing. I don't care. Like the dude is literally one of the first player managers, Charlie Hustle. He was part of the Big Red. Put him in the Hall of Fame. The fact he's going to be dead and now they're going to put him into the Hall of Fame because there's going to be all this like, well, he should have got his roses, blah, 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 blah. It sucks that it's going to be now that he's dead. He's going to go in and he's never going to get that because the dude tried so fucking hard to right what he knew was a wrong, but it wasn't like he wasn't ever changing how he played. Like that dude never changed how he played the game, regardless of what bet he had in. Like that dude played his ass off. We all know the famous picture of him being fucking completely parallel, just hat off. Like that guy, he needs to be in the Hall of Fame. You can't talk about baseball without talking about Pete Rose. Plain and simple. That's how it is. Same goes with some of the steroid era guys. Maybe one day we'll get into that. Put Pete in.
No, I completely agree. I mean, there are those guys who made mistakes, Barry Bonds being one of them, Pete Rose being one of them, but they are very foundational in the history of Major League Baseball and deserve their rightful place for everything they accomplished on the field. I honestly think there's more of a case to keep Barry Bonds out of the Hall of Fame than Pete Rose, although I do think he'll find himself there one day. Tallman, I guess I just want to pass this to you if you had any thoughts to add to what your brother just said there.
Yeah, if you haven't watched the documentary yet on Pete Rose, I think it came out a couple months ago. It's on HBO Max. That's a must watch. It's incredible. But I mean, he's basically, the documentary is him just trying to stake his case to be in the Hall of Fame. And he's like, just do it before I die, please. Don't do it after I'm dead. So it's crazy that, he did just pass away. But one of the big things is from that documentary, and you learn that Pete Rose was a total asshole. I mean, he was, right? He was somebody, a lot of people did not like him. Right. But and I'm with you. He's not like Barry Bonds or Mark McGwire, those guys that cheated, right? They physically cheated in the game and had an upper hand. Pete Rose bet on his team to win, whether that's true or not, I mean, that type of dude that has the nickname Charlie Hustle, I don't think he's betting for against his team and he's trying to throw a game. But ultimately, I mean, he did the number one sin. It's like you don't bet on your own sports. Like You don't. But I mean, just the achievements that he had. I mean, the longevity he had between playing and being a manager. Just no one's ever going to break his record on hits. It's never going to happen. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And I 100% believe that now that he has passed away, I bet you it happens in the next year or two. I bet you it does. But it's unfortunate because I think the biggest downfall for him was he had to lie for so many years and say he never bet on baseball. And then he finally came out and said, yeah, I did it. Like what? I think it took him 18 years? No, maybe 15. I don't know. It took him a long ass time to come out and finally admit it. So he lied for so many years, which definitely didn't help his case. But the guy deserves to be in. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and again, I can't agree with you more. I haven't seen that documentary. I'm definitely going to go check it out.
It's really good.
I get why betting against betting on your sport is not allowed in any professional sport. I understand why it's frowned upon, but I think there is an important distinction between betting against the team you're playing for and betting for the team you're playing for. I think on the NFL side, we saw Calvin Ridley get in trouble for that, placing a few money lines bets on his team to win. I mean, you're betting on yourself. You're betting on yourself to win, and I think, like, again, I just think there needs to be a distinction made there where if you're betting on yourself, you're only going to try and win, right? So it's like, yeah, you shouldn't do it, but maybe the penalty shouldn't be as severe as if you're intentionally going and betting against your team.
Yeah, but then also the idea of like, look at how much these sports leagues are embracing the sports betting now. Like you can't escape it. You go into Chase Field. There's a huge ass Caesars Rewards banner. It says $1,000 for signing up. Like you can't go anywhere without seeing some type of promotion that's attached to a sports team for betting on sports. So, I mean, I don't know. You would think after so long, the old guy's paid his price. Just let him in. You know, you should have let him in. Shame on them for waiting until this long. It's sad.
Yeah. Well, and let's be honest. I think one of the biggest mistakes Pete Rose made was not having an interpreter. If all he needed to do was have an interpreter, and then he would have never gotten in trouble for betting on sports, and that guy would have gone to jail. But that's another conversation for another day. Mike, you do have this article pulled up here. I was very surprised to see this notification pushed to my phone today that Jeff Passan wrote this article. Pete Rose has only himself to blame for tarnished MLB legacy. Less than 24 hours after the news of his passing, this story is coming out. I'm not saying you never put this story out if you really do feel the need to do it, but clearly Jeff Passan has some massive chip on his shoulder and a massive hatred for Pete Rose. Just poor taste in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think?
The epitome of poor taste, Chris. 24 hours after this man has passed, you put this kind of garbage out there. What are we expecting? Are we expecting anything less from ESPN at this point? Am I saying, right? It's the era of clickbait. I mean, come on. No, this is a story that will go on in infamy, and it's something that can be written on in the future. I totally get it. But really? We have to be worrying about his tarnished legacy the day after he dies, and you have to put it out in front of our face. I mean, imagine what his family members might be thinking if they see this. This is the first notification they get after they just found out that their grandpa or their father died. Like, what are we doing here? But I did want to touch on the Hall of Fame aspect, and this is really the only thing I'll have to say, and it's more so of the grand landscape of these players who have been found guilty of what this, that, or the other, and have not gotten their just desserts for making the Hall of Fame. At the end of the day, gentlemen, the only thing that I correlate the Hall of Fame with in any sport is the history of the game, whether good, bad, or indifferent. Pete Rose is a part of history. Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Roger Clemens, all of these guys are a part of history. And if you want to go and put their face on a plaque and say, this guy cheated, at least it's part of the history so people can understand what happened. There's no reason for these guys to not be in there. It's ridiculous. I could even say, like, screw it. The 1919 Chicago White Sox that threw the World Series, put their cleats and their socks in there. Like, what are we doing? It's about the history of the game. You need to learn every aspect of the history of the game at the end of the day. So it's disappointing that he didn't get what he truly deserved at the end of the day as the all-time hit leader in MLB history. And like you guys have already echoed, will never be broken. It's time to get him in.
Without a doubt. And I don't expect it to happen in the next couple of years, but I truly believe it will happen. And it's sad. It is sad that like Tallman said, that he wanted it to happen while he was still alive. I think he definitely deserved to happen while he was alive. And for it to go out this way, and then people like Jeff Passan to immediately come out and spit on his grave, absolutely disgusting. Don't really know what that guy was thinking. He got plenty of hate on the Twitters, but man, fellas, just a rough time to be a fan of Valley sports teams right now. And I think it's about time we all start heading for the exit so we can go lick our wounds and recover. But Mike, I think you had something special here for how we want to close this out tonight. Instead of going around sharing our final thoughts, what do you got, Mike?
Gentlemen, it's been a hell of a past 2 days with the Diamondbacks utter collapse, maybe historic for the Valley. The Cardinals getting spanked by their old head coach. It's time for a State of the Union to end it. I need to know how you guys are feeling. Where's your thoughts? What do we do moving forward? How are you feeling? How are you feeling about Valley sports right now? And Chris, I would like to go last. So I'll pass it back to you to pick on one of these guys. Whoever you're feeling needs to go first.
All right, perfect. I guess I'll go second to last. How about that? I'll go second to last. So Mr. T Jr., as our very special guest, the Wonder Twin, Margarita Matt, what is your opinion on the state of the union of Arizona sports?
Oh, my God. My fellow Arizona sport fans, it's not good. It's not good. I did see a highlight today on Facebook about the Phoenix Suns doing some stuff. So maybe they can make some fun. Maybe I'll actually fucking watch basketball this year. Maybe that'll actually get in. I don't know. It's early. It's early in the season for the Cardinals, so let's not be too alarmed. We don't need to turn on the sirens. We're at DEFCON 2 right now. We haven't hit 3. 3 might be getting hit probably at halftime against San Francisco, depending on how bad Kyler gets killed by that defense. The Diamondbacks, man. God, I don't know. We touched on that for an hour, so I'm not even going to go there. It's Arizona sports, boys. This is what we do. We're used to this. This is the fire. The fire lets us know where we belong. We're firemen. We move the flame. All right, we're good. We'll be fine. Maybe we have a 5-win season. Maybe it's a 4-win season for the Cardinals. I don't know. Maybe we get another draft pick that's great. Some crazy prospect comes out. Or we go to San Francisco, start the fire, stuff gets good. But I would say don't sound the alarms. Don't light the torches on top of the towers yet to alarm the other people around us. They haven't come yet. Give us a little bit of time. Talk to me in 2 weeks, though. 2 weeks, this could be way different. All fucking sirens could be going off. It could be terrible. Who knows? But we got time. It's not that bad yet.
So it's heating up, but it's not fully on fire yet. But sounds like the flames are being stoked quickly, potentially. Tallman, I'll pass it to you next. What is your opinion on the state of the union?
Guys, I'm tired. I'm about to do the full-on Buda Baker screaming and crying from Hard Knocks. I'm fucking tired. I'm sad. I'm disappointed. I'm mad. I have no words for the Diamondbacks right now. I honestly don't. And you know what's sad? I'm not going to watch any fucking postseason baseball this year. I'm not. I'm going to do it out of spite for that team. I'm just not going. I'm forgetting about it, washing my memory of it. The Cardinals, man, 2-2 would look so much better than 1-3 right now, especially when this team's got a really good shot to lose the next 4 games. And we could be coming back. We could be circling back in 30 days, and we could be 1-6, 1-7. Suns, I haven't been paying attention, but now I have a bunch of free time now, so I'll start paying attention. So maybe we'll find some light there, but I'm tired. I need a vacation. I'm tired. That's it.
Well, you deserve a vacation, Tallman, after the last couple of weeks that we've had. And so Mike said he's going to go last. So I'll dive in and give my assessment. Guys, it's bleak. Morale is low. We lost our hockey team earlier this year due to stadium issues. And now our Arizona Diamondbacks, not only have they been eliminated from playoff contention and are not currently playing in the playoffs, they should be playing tonight, should have played today in Milwaukee, but now they are also having stadium issues. They are in a battle with Maricopa County. We know how Maricopa County and their voters feel about giving public tax dollars to our sports teams to keep them in viable stadiums. Chase Field is one of the oldest baseball stadiums in the league, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. It is running on old technology. Tallman recently, I think it was on the Heat Check podcast, broke down how the air conditioning system works in that. It's basically swamp coolers, it sounds like. That's pretty old technology, and it's going to take a lot of money that if you're asking the team to foot the whole bill for that, is a big ask when they already don't have the highest payroll in the league, and they want to pay these players to keep the team competitive to where you're able to continue to generate money. Now we'll get into that some more as time goes on. With the Phoenix Suns, man, last year we had the third highest payroll in the NBA. This year we have the highest payroll in the NBA, and we're in the second or third apron where Matt Ishbia is paying out the ass for this roster. It is win now. If we want to save any face of having faith in our Arizona sports teams, it has to start with the Phoenix Suns. Expectation is that they absolutely make it to the playoffs. Expectation for me is that they make the Western Conference Finals, and I will not settle for anything less. We were 2 games away from a championship with the Suns not that long ago. The window is now. While Devin Booker is still young, while we have Kevin Durant, you got to strike while the iron's hot. They're the last hope. Let's be honest. They gotta bring us down from DEFCON 2. Maybe we can get down to DEFCON 1. But been some major blows, guys. And of course the Cardinals. When's the last time they were? I mean, I know we had a good season with Kliff, but when's the last time the Cardinals actually were competitive in the playoffs? It's been a decade at least. It's been a long time, guys. So we need these sports teams to be making the playoffs and be put in positions by their stadium situation, their roster construction, their owners to be able to keep teams in the Valley. And if we have good sports teams, then we won't have 60-40 splits or 50-50 splits or home games at Chase Field looking like Yankees games and Dodgers games. That's going to take some time. And this is my plea to the people. Any millennial, Gen Z, who was born in the Valley and is a fan of sports teams, go have some kids, raise them to be Arizona sports fans, because it's the only way. The transplants are going to keep coming, and all we can do is outnumber them. My optimism is low, but I still believe. That's all I got.
Gentlemen, after yesterday, I had to take a trip down memory lane because I had to think, has this been the worst it's been? Has it really? So I want you guys to come back with me. Our only major championship in the Valley, 2001. What's happened since then, right? Let's go back to 2004, at the beginning of the Steve Nash era, which lasted about 8 years, right? What happened within that time frame? Suns set a franchise record with 62 wins. Then Joe Johnson breaks his face, and we get massacred by the San Antonio Spurs. Within the next year, Rob Rory shoves Steve Nash into the bench, and Amari and Boris Diaw are suspended, and our championship hopes never come to fruition. The 2007 Diamondbacks, they're swept by the Rockies in the NLCS. What happens next year? They miss the playoffs. 2008 Cardinals, some are saying the worst team ever to make the Super Bowl. They're a toe tap away from being champions. And then the next year, Kurt Warner literally has a hit put on him by the New Orleans Saints, and he never plays again. And then we have some time. And Chris, like you said, the last time the Cardinals were truly competitive in the playoffs, the 2015 Arizona Cardinals with Carson Palmer, David Johnson, Larry. They get killed by Cam Newton in the NFC Championship. Carson Palmer gets hurt the next year. They miss the playoffs. It's the end of that era. The Diamondbacks, 2017, absolutely stellar wild card game against the Colorado Rockies. What happens? They're swept by the Dodgers. What happens the next year? We miss the playoffs. And then more recently, the 2021 Cardinals were stomped in the NL wild card by the Rams. We come back next year with high expectations, and it ends up being a regime change. And then what happens? 2021, same year, the Suns up 2-0, squander the opportunity. And the next season, they set a franchise record with 63 wins. But then they also set a historic record with a Game 7 home loss the next season. And now we're kind of stuck where we are now. And then the Diamondbacks miraculous run to the World Series, and we missed the playoffs. Gentlemen, it's nothing new. This is what we were born into. Matt, I think you talked about it. We have been in the fire our entire lives. So we grin and bear it. But I think yesterday was really one of those eye-openers about where we had to truly think of where we sit within our fandom right now. And it's not going anywhere. But I'm sad. And that history of 20 years can show it right to your face. But we keep plugging along, baby. Valley Sports Plug is here to stay. We appreciate everybody who's been along for this ride so far. Appreciate you, Matt, hopping on as always. And Tallman, Chris, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Mike. An apt analysis. And when you think that you're at rock bottom and you might be, there's only one direction you can go from there, and that is straight up. So that's why I'm saying you got to stay optimistic. But let's go ahead and get out of here, guys. Anyone who has stayed with us through the entire stream, we thank you so much. Anybody listening back, either here on YouTube or on any audio streaming podcast platform, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, basically anywhere that has podcasts. Valley Sports Plug will be posted there. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, at @AZ_VSP. Go ahead, Google search Valley Sports Plug, and I guarantee you that you will find us. And of course, right here on YouTube, like and subscribe. We send push notifications right to your phone if you click that bell, so you'll know when we go live and when we post new content. For Michael Benjamin, VSP Tallman, and Mr. T Jr., I'm Chris Patrick. We'll see you around the corner. Peace.